Yeah, the previous attempt at this recording, I kind of forgot to change the audio thing in the recording settings, so that was my bad. All right, so when we last left off, if I remember correctly, and I might be not remembering correctly, because
That is entirely possible.
that's not just possible, quite possibly probable. You guys had finished up your stuff on the West Coast, had dropped off Superior back on her island, and had returned to Star City to check in with a few things. Sophia had come with you.
I bought the Phantom's
house.
house.
Correctly, you got information that sounded like Archon was still moving westwards across Europe, and you'd received an invitation to sort of almost more, a summons really, but at your convenience from the Queen of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
we decided that
we were going to do that, yeah.
We decided that we should probably listen to the Queen's summons, as opposed to go fight a supervillain that will probably eat our skin.
Yes.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Archon is not a cannibal.
We'll probably have his minions eat our skin.
At any rate,
That was very timely, refreshing consumption noise after talking about cannibalism.
I had some water. I
Delicious.
needed to drink it.
It's totally water and not liver.
Totally not. At any rate, so what is your plan then?
Well, good.
Well, how do we get word to Atlantis to say we're on our way?
Actually, how did we
I
get the
don't-
message in the first place? Didn't it come through the NSC?
You were
Yes.
the yes. Agent Smith had received a letter from you for you guys through the ambassador.
Oh, right, there's an embassy here. We can just go there and say, hi, we're gonna head over as soon as we have a submarine. Which I think the van can turn into, can it?
Yes, it can.
That's... And for added bonus, I can operate perfectly fine underwater. Yay.
Oh, that is important, actually.
Yeah.
So if the van breaks down halfway through the Marianas Trench, I got it.
I'm going to start making preparations in case we have to fight underwater somehow, or at least
Yeah.
be underwater.
What is your plan for that,
Packing.
if I may ask?
Well,
Plan for me.
I'm going to work on as much of my equipment as possible so that it will work underwater. Use my Squire skill for that.
Short.
And get breathing apparatuses.
Short. Oh, you know what I forgot to do at the end of last session? That I should have done?
No.
Give you guys experience points.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
great!
it's
Now I can futz around with the builder for 10,000 more hours.
so yeah, it's another 5 experience points each.
Okay.
Um,
Doop-a-doop-a-doop.
So
actually,
I believe if we get one more set, then we go up.
yeah, I'm debating that actually. You have what session are we in?
This is session 20.
Yeah, actually no. That I forgot to have experience points at least once before that. So yeah, you guys should have earned a total of 15 experience.
Okay.
Oh. Well, I know what I'm going to be doing on Sunday.
Yeah. So I have the Artificer ability.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna totally make a amulet that lets me breathe and operate underwater without penalties.
An amulet of breathing, you say?
Yes.
So what are you saying, Eric? You're going to give yourself a necklace of adaptation and a ring of free action?
Yes.
Wait, what?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Plus, you got old school D&D items here.
Yep.
The necklace of adaptation allows you to breathe in any environment, and the ring of free action means you're never impeded by the environment you're operating in.
He's also immune to any hold spells.
There's that extra bonus in the ring of free action because the ring of free action is awesome.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Also, the necklace adaptation makes you immune to any attacks that would make you rely on you breathing in effect, like a green dragon's breath weapon, cloud kill, things like that.
Stinking
Oh, right.
cow.
Green Dragon's breath weapon was
gas.
was chlorine gas. It
Yes,
was
it was.
actually chlorine.
Those were two ridiculously awesome items.
So yeah, I'm gonna make them and I'm going to wear them for our trip to Atlantis.
Probably not quite as effective as those two, but maybe, I don't know. Have to work out the point values for those effects. You can definitely be able to do the less powerful, breathe underwater and underwater movement, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's all I'm really looking to do.
I guess I'm just going to buy a
I'll
wetsuit.
add on later if I want.
Since my suit is already perfectly fine in operating in a subaquatic environment, I'm going to spend my time trying to help John and Aaron set up something for them instead.
We need those rebreather things from
Yeah.
the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, right.
little...
About the size of a pen, it'll be great.
Yeah. Oh, and you know those little things you can get? Those little personal fans that you can get? We need those strapped to the boots.
And
Yeah, those neat little powered sleds that you can use underwater, but they'll have like machine guns and laser guns on them. Torpedoes.
Ooh, I know what I want.
what?
An underwater Segway.
I'm gonna Google it. I'll find it. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a spare suit of my armor and try to modify it so that it will, not be just wearing metal underwater, and be more suitable for where we're gonna be going.
I'm going to
Better
help
to be
you
over prepared
as
than
best
under
I can.
prepared.
Yes. I imagine there's a few chemical coatings that I can apply to it that'll help it in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Polyurethane.
Have you found it yet, Gav?
Yes.
What is it?
That.
Fuck
John
yeah!
Doe,
I
master
remember
of
this.
Subtlety!
Yeah.
You want
I
to be
remember
a
this show.
Power extreme.
Exactly. Dude, I only went for C-bar. It's not like I went for depth charge. Something stupid.
Dear.
I'll let the chat see that too. There you go.
So is this how you're going to sneak around pink elephant syndrome?
Is that what we're supposed to think about pink elephants, but since you mentioned them, it's all we can think about.
It's more the notion of no one will ever admit to having seen a pink elephant because then everyone will think they're insane.
So So I'm looking something up here. But, which I should have done earlier. Given what I knew was going to be happening, I forgot to look up something very important.
Uh-oh.
That's always fun.
It's like it just occurred to me. You know, I should probably look up the rules for something before I send you guys to Atlantis.
Underwater combat.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not looking for that at all.
Incidentally enough, we haven't actually seen Sophia's fast travel abilities. I think we're actually going to see her underwater fast travel abilities before her overland abilities.
Yeah, one thing I'm gonna have to check to see if my gun can work underwater.
Thought we saw you fly before.
Gav, your gun will technically work underwater, but it'll probably have some penalties.
You are blinded by all the steam that just got sublimated right in front of you.
Probably.
Gav, you did not take limited power. Does not work underwater, so it'll work. It will technically work underwater.
And as for the Vernier, that's not really a fast travel. That's a not die from altitude power.
Ah.
And my fast travel lets me move at 60 miles an hour over land. So I don't ever actually need to
Yeah.
actually get in the van.
So I can do that. It's called a cab.
And my underwater speed is 30 miles an hour.
John Doe shows up with a wetsuit. Those are large air tanks. They're not air tanks, they're torpedoes. Oh.
John gives up on the stealth option for once.
Well, he's out of his element. It's not like he can disguise himself as a fish.
That's a fair line of logic. I don't think he's taking it to a logical extreme. It's extreme, but not a logical extreme.
Not yet, it's not.
The Sentinels show up in Atlantis. There's Aaron and Sophia and Dr. Arcane, and then there's SpongeBob standing next to them.
There will be no SpongeBob. Don't worry.
There you go.
You're lucky I can't do a SpongeBob impression. It's okay, Nick can do it.
Okay, now the doctor's gonna walk up to the palace and go, "Oh, no, am I the only one who was expecting a pineapple?"
That's a terrible stereotype. Propagated by insensitive bigots at Nickelodeon.
CJ47 in the chat. Aaron says, John, disguising yourself as a dolphin doesn't mean you can breathe underwater. John responds, what about a shark?
Technically, besides yourself a dolphin would, even if you were to transform yourself into a dolphin, would not mean you could breathe underwater.
Right.
Give John some credit, guys. He's cleverer than that.
It's not a matter of cleverness, it's just I can see him asking the question. What about a shark?
How about a shark?
It does make more sense.
That also means that John would never sit still, so I think hiding would be a problem.
You could be,
But technically, dolphins don't breathe underwater either.
No, they don't.
he could disguise himself as Godzilla. Godzilla could do anything.
Yeah.
And Dragon Rat has a point, you wouldn't breathe underwater as a shark either. They don't breathe. Yeah, gills.
It's still breathing.
I hate how this book is laid out.
Yeah, finding stuff in it is kind of annoying.
At any rate, so, but you guys are getting stuff ready. I'm gonna keep looking this stuff up while you guys are
Brainstorming.
brainstorming, working out what it is how exactly you want to approach this. And if there's anything you guys want to do in particular before you leave, let me know, please. Or people you want to talk to.
We would like to send a formal letter to the people of Atlantis, asking them if they want to engage us in combat to do so entirely inside of areas where we can breathe.
Atmospheric bubbles.
We require you to build atmospheric
Yeah.
bubbles for us to fight in. Please send us a reply once these have been built, and we'll be along post haste.
We will be anticipating your reply for the next several years.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I am going to let Lita know what's going on and ask her if she wants anything from Atlantis.
Take lots of pictures.
Anything that Hippolyta wants from Atlantis.
That I can acquire legally.
There's the question.
It's one of those. Well, there's. Oh, never mind. Well,
Remember,
technically,
you're
it might be obtainable, but be very expensive. So,
You know damn well he's coming back with an Ariel cosplay outfit.
And then she can dress up as Triton.
Nice.
at any rate,
I don't even want
I'm
it.
sort of trying to think of. Is there anything Hippolyta would want from Atlantis? Well, honestly, if you stumble across anything interesting, is sort of, in terms of sort of historical like artifacts or anything like that, even if there's like just stuff like brochures from the museum type things, even.
Oh, okay.
Like anything interesting about the sort of historically, culturally, mystically, what have you,
So stuff I would like. You are so easy to shop for.
I have a question. Have any
Art,
of us
things
ever
like
been
that.
to? Have any of us ever been to Atlantis before?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I do actually have a question now that for the NSCA people, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Having never been to Atlantis, are they a technologically or magically predominant society?
Yes.
Society?
Ah, one of those.
They
Okay.
do everything.
All right.
There are areas of their technology which is better than the land dwellers, and there are areas where they're nowhere near as good.
All right. I'm going to spend the time.
Yeah, I mean, they're living
helping people
underwater.
I'm going to spend my time where I'm not helping other people assemble stuff and looking into Atlantean technology.
Well, there's the rub. Not a lot is known about it, because up until fairly recently, they really didn't have much contact with surface dwellers.
It's all powered by crystals.
It's like that's familiar somehow. In any case, if that's the case, I'm going to be taking documentation of as much as I can.
But yeah, like most of the stuff that the Atlanteans are very good at involves with dealing with their area. Most of the areas that they most of the stuff they work with in terms of technologies, dealing with the fact that everything they do is underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are certain limitations to that.
So they're woefully lacking in the area of flamethrower development.
that would definitely be the case. I'm not sure that they would use the term woefully.
They probably don't have a very developed space program either.
No, not really.
For avionics.
They only ever played the second XCOM game.
Terror of the Deep.
Oh crap. Actually, Actually, I just realized something. Let's see here. Weapons. What did I give for this? Air and heat. I'm wondering if my plasma weapons are going to operate underwater. Probably not, since they go off of the air principle as opposed to the vibration principle.
Pardon.
Well, you'll find out.
Well, if all else fails, I have explosives.
First fight. We are woefully unprepared.
I also have a lightning generator, so yeah.
You
Oh,
can
we're well underwater.
Oh, that's not going to cause any problems. As
No.
far as the plasma projectors go, you could rig up a short burst and high intensity laser to sublimate the water immediately before the plasma weapon fires, so you'd have air to go through.
This is a good idea. I'm going to invent this. 21.
All right, Eric, you probably should give me a roll for your.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of important.
Maybe since worked out, it's about 4 points, so you'll need a. Crap, I can't remember what the roll you'll need for that is, but
That's a thaumatology roll, right?
yeah, I don't know. I forget how much you'll need for it though.
Yeah, it's probably your Thama roll.
Well, I know what skill it is. I just don't know what his result has to be.
It's probably good enough.
Better than I
29?
rolled.
I think it is probably enough.
Actually, it wouldn't be sublimating the water because it's just changing from liquid to gas, so it'd be vaporizing the water.
The terminology does not matter, the results do. If I can end up with fried fish, it works. And I hope the 21 will cover it.
So. Oh yeah, you're both fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
It'll take time.
But I'm quick at this thing.
I am not.
Yes, I'm. Oh, that's right. For fuck's sake. So yes, yeah, it's like let me just check the construction rules here. It's you need to make 2 checks, one to design and then one to build it.
Alright.
The design check is an hour's work per PowerPoint of the invention's cost. The construction is
I think I got it.
4 hours per PowerPoint. And then you can always speed it up by taking penalty for each time rank reduction you want of -5. You have a built-in one, if I remember correctly, Sophia.
I have quickness 6 for technology-based things.
Yeah, so you're fine.
Good doctor is spending a few days on this.
Yep, that's Major Sands has got it spot on. I was just looking that up. 5 for the thing that Doc is working on. It would be 5-hour design, 20 hours construction. Rich will be 20 hours design, 15 minutes casting. At any rate, so you guys are doing all your prep work and such. I assume. So you guys said you wanted to contact the embassy to let them know that you are
Heading out, yeah.
that you'll be going. All right. So you want to contact the ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
All right. She is staying at the same hotel she was at before. Because I mean, there's an embassy, but she's currently at her hotel. There's good. The reason for that is that it's easy. It's more comfortable because it's set up for It's got a pool and stuff.
That would do it. Do we want to drag Tony along for this?
Does he want to
We
come?
could invite him.
Hey, Tony,
Mark?
do you have any interest in seeing Atlantis?
Mark?
Okay, then.
Is that a yes or a no?
Pretty sure it was a yes.
Sounded positive.
I was aiming for it, of course.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. It's like, duh! Alright. Set up your own preparations. Let us know when you're done.
Back to the suitcase and like, mark, mark.
All right, so you contact the ambassador, and she would be more than happy to talk to you and accept your the official letter or your official response at her hotel room, because that is the most convenient place for her.
That's acceptable.
Unless you guys just want to say, yeah, we're accepting. If you could relay that, if you want to talk to her at all, you'd have to see it in her hotel room.
I think that it's okay to just send her a brief confirmation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just checking to see if there's anything you wanted to particularly discuss with her before you go.
Damn it, I'm conducting magic here! It's like science, but with more crystals.
Some more information about where we're going would be useful, considering how little there is to spare. But honestly, I don't know what questions I would ask.
Oh, by the way, the invitation letter does in fact have, the actual, coordinates to, longitude, latitude, and such. And
Okay,
I kinda figured.
let's start in the bay, and then we'll work our way north, and then we'll work our way east.
Okay, the lost city of Atlantis that no one's ever actually found. Yeah, they don't say where it is.
Turns out it's in the Yangtze River.
what? No.
That would be very difficult.
Yes, it would. The Chinese would not be amused.
Besides, this is Lemuria that's in the Yangtze River.
But Mecca, I'm trying to give you a crossover opportunity here.
No.
It does
Atlantis
explain
is
why.
at the bottom of Lake Erie.
It does explain why no one's ever found out where it is, because no information gets out of China.
Ouch.
Okay, so
Here's the Earth.
you let the ambassador know, and she will be sure to pass on the message that you are accepting.
I'm sorry, the chance is broken me.
Yes.
Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. Work, work. No.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. And I can totally see it happening.
Yes.
All right, so
God. I'm not really sure how Aaron puts up with this.
well, at least Tony's adorable.
No.
Don't know about the rest of the group.
That's the scene that has to be in the comic and the movie.
So at any rate,
Considering Sophia's a mother, I don't think she would actually be engaging in that. She's had enough.
yeah.
Actually, I'm just like seeing Aaron in the driver's seat and Sophia's in the passenger seat right next to him. They're both just like banging their heads against the dash.
The really funny thing is that the way it would work would be, basically, dog would be distracted by something, look up and say, "Hey, are we there yet?" No. All right.
John would do it
John
for
would do it
trolling.
to troll them, and then Tony would do it because it's Tony.
Oh, no, John would be poking Tony, saying, "Do it, do it, do it."
John, you're a bad influence on that penguin.
Not words I expected to hear waking up today, but
I mean, the bad influence part, sure, but
Yeah.
what the hell?
Seriously, we need our own comic.
I go along with a lot of John's ideas, but he is not allowed near my family.
Unlike Stewart, he hasn't met them. At any rate, so you have done all your preparation work that you're going to do, from what I understand.
Hooray!
So you have, basic underwater gear for those of you who, don't have the don't have the ability to invent stuff for yourself via technology or magic.
Yeah, magic.
You've done what preparation you can to make your equipment more appropriate for fighting underwater.
Which we hopefully won't have to.
Right, that would be terrible.
That would never happen.
I would never inflict that on you guys. That'd be wrong. All of Atlantis will be in a
It's not
bubble
like
of
trouble
air.
follows us around or anything.
What? Sorry?
It's not like trouble follows us around or anything.
No, it's not like you're superheroes. Oh, wait. At any rate, so, it's going to be a bit of a trip, for a couple of reasons. One, the van is nowhere near as fast underwater as it is in the ground or in the air, for what I like to call obvious reasons. The van is not aerodynamic. It is probably less hydrodynamic than it is aerodynamic. If that's at all possible.
What are you talking about? All we have to do is all we have to do is fly out over the insertion point and let it sink.
You could do that if you'd like.
That's actually not a bad idea. In fact, that's probably did something akin to that. Like we flew most of the way, and then when we got near the coordinates, we started going down.
He's on fuel.
We're probably carrying spare fuel or something like that. Like we TD on top of the water, refuel the thing, and then go down.
Yeah, I'm definitely say you won't be able to do a straight sort of direct drop from the air to the water. And be able to go down underwater immediately. The transformation sequence would probably be. Whatever, fine.
Whatever, it's a comic book. We've all seen Teen Titans.
So yes, if you want to fly, sure. I just forgot. Oh yeah, you could just fly out there for most of it. All right,
Can you guys hear me right now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Hello.
It just took a little while.
And as for that banging noise, that's my dad continuing bathroom renovations.
Ah,
I actually don't hear any.
He stopped using the hammer.
Ah. Okay then.
at any rate, so you are flying out there. Trying to think of anything in particular.
Sophia is pondering just having a gigantic fishing line streaming out the back of the van.
That's a terrible idea while you're flying.
Besides, we might catch a colossal mouth bass.
Airplane fishing.
All right, so you arrive in the general vicinity of Atlantis, which is
Who'd have thought
Oh,
it's in
is
New
my Skype
Jersey?
exploding? No.
no, it's actually pretty far. I haven't actually decided where I was going to put Atlantis. That's the thing.
To Google Earth.
Location of Atlantis.
Actually, I'm wondering if you'll get a response out of that from Google Maps. I'm gonna go try that right now. Google Maps.
Did you mean Atlanta? No, Atlantis. Did you mean Lemuria?
Let's see here. Atlantis. Atlantis, Florida.
Well, yeah. I just went to Wikipedia and just looking at this, the sort of. All right, some of these are very strange as locations for Atlantis.
Actually, thinking about it, wouldn't the Caribbean be a good idea since there was a lot of pirate activity and sailing stuff and mermaid myths and whatnot?
Oh, there's some spots in the there are some spots that are in the Caribbean. Yes, around Cuba and somewhere down South America are two possible locations.
Really?
Yep.
I would have figured much closer to the mouth of the Mediterranean.
Oh, that's another place. Dude, the possible locations for Atlantis are all over the freaking place, including up into Scandinavia.
Really?
It was mistranslated from Iceland. Anybody? Oh, okay.
You know,
The Scandinavian Atlantis is the real reason Sonder ended up in China.
Okay. And so we descend into the abyss.
yes, I'm gonna say that it is.
What is that scraping noise?
Not sure. I hear it also, but
I think it's coming from Eric's end.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
you're futzing with models, aren't you?
yes, sorry.
It's all right.
Didn't even realize you guys could hear that.
Yeah. That is, in fact, the article I'm looking at, Goskoyan.
Oh, that's terrible.
What?
It's in the sewers. The Atlanteans are just sewer mutants of Atlanta.
Oh, God.
Waka waka.
Actually, one of my personal... Yeah. So, who was I was listening to someone talking about, the Iliad, and how there was a hypothesis that it was that was actually, since there was no proof they couldn't find any proof of Troy anywhere in the Mediterranean area, that they thought it might actually be in the UK.
They did find the location of Troy, didn't they?
Well, they found a location that they thought was Troy, but a lot of the other references in the Iliad don't really match up with what they found for Troy.
Really? Huh.
Well, at least that's the theory. It's not a good theory. Oh, I know where I saw that. It was on
Ancient Aliens.
it was no. It was during the most recent season of QI. They had a little series they called Dubious Theories, and that was one of them.
Huh.
I got the impression that Fry was like, "This is a bunch of codswallop," but So yeah, I'm gonna say it's sort of out in the sort of western Atlantic, sort of roughly. It's
Somewhere near the Atlantic Rim.
well, it's sort of I can't remember the that area. Let me just take a quick look here. I gotta. It's,
Damn it! Now I've got resin all over my shirt.
I think it's from like the Azores Islands and such. Is the area I'm looking at. It's out near there, which is about 900 miles west of, of Portugal.
It's a lovely area.
At any rate, so it's sort of near the it's yeah. It's as I said, it's in the Atlantic near somewhat near the Mediterranean, but not actually in the Mediterranean.
Somewhere near the Canaries, but north.
Near the Azores, actually.
Oh, there's us. Sorry.
So yeah, we had to make quite a trip then.
Yes.
Yes, I'd say it's about an 8-hour flight.
Yeah, I'm glad that we do most of it flying then.
Yes. Yes, one might wonder why on earth the well, actually, that's the thing, is Atlantis, the capital of Atlantis, that's where the capital of Atlantis is. The Atlanteans have a bunch of settlements underneath in the Atlantic, underwater, which is why they actually were able to attack the United States. They have settlements that are further east than that.
They attacked from an outpost of sorts.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, duh. Because otherwise, why are they attacking? Why are they traveling that far where they just go up to Portugal?
What the fuck's to attack in Portugal?
I have to agree with Gav there.
Much closer than the east coast of the United States. All right, Gav, they could go after they're closer to England than they are in the United States also.
What the fuck's to attack in England?
Okay, they're closer to Germany.
That's inland, though. They don't have a coast. They only barely have a coast, and that's because they nicked that off Holland.
What's their attack on most of the east coast of the United States outside of New York? Yeah, thought so.
I'd say Florida, but they probably gave that a wide berth. Yeah, there's Washington.
Yeah, there's the capital.
Yeah, DC.
Cape Canaveral.
Not really sure how much good that would do.
At any rate,
They were
So,
taking
I mean, I've been
vacations
through-
at Nova
I've been
Scotia.
I've been through Baltimore. There's nothing to attack there either.
Also true.
Oh, this is so weird. Just like, let's just shit on everything.
Yeah.
honest
What's
question:
to attack
why
there?
did Atlantis bother attacking the surface in the first place?
There's nothing on the surface that anyone wants. There's two things on the surface: the internet and all-you-can-eat buffets. And I'm pretty sure you can get both in Atlantis.
This is how we will defeat the humans. We will destroy their main source of porn.
No, anything but that.
They will fall into despair. Anyway,
I think at that point we would vaporize the ocean.
No.
In
Because
vengeance.
if they want to dominate and take over, then they increase the amount of porn. If they take away the porn, then we rally as a people and fight back.
Exactly.
we become far more productive.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, we're showing up at
didn't
Atlantis.
realize that.
Disable the internet and man's unstoppable.
So we're going to Atlantis.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So now, to be fair, the attack by Atlantis on the east coast of the United States was in the late '60s. So
It's had time to move around since then.
and then the when the Mad King Oceanus III attacked. The current queen is the current queen of Atlantis is Queen Andromeda.
All right.
She
Not
has
so
gotten on in years. She basically deposed her father in '69. So
Do Atlanteans have a lifespan at all different from humans?
slightly longer.
Okay.
So she's old
Right.
for an Atlantean, but she's not like going senile or anything like that.
Well, 40 plus years is a long time to have a single person in power.
It is. She was very young when she took the throne, though.
So she's around in her 50s, 60s.
She's probably in her 60s at this point.
All right.
I'd say late 60s.
Okay.
Which explains part of the reason why some of her less stable relatives are getting kind of antsy about the succession. Like the ones who were trying to instigate problems between Atlantis and the surface, who you guys dealt with before.
Right.
Right. Okay then.
At any rate, so you do arrive in the general vicinity of Atlantis, above the water. You touch down on the surface of the water. Nick, I will need a piloting check from you though,
Okay. Let me double
or
check
driving,
this.
or whatever skill it is. Is
Uh,
it vehicles?
Yes.
On the surface of the water is a buoy that says "Eat at Joe's."
There we go.
That's plenty to land safely. The landing is
Welcome, filthy land dwellers.
Joe's Crab Shack.
so the landing is about as smooth as you can expect for landing a plane that turns into a submarine on the surface of the Atlantic. Honestly, the period of time that you're on the surface before you actually can descend underwater is possibly the least pleasant part of the trip. Because the Atlantis kind of gets a bit, rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whee! Whee! This is great!
Well, sort of, we smash! Ow!
I told you to wear your goddamn seatbelts.
Mark!
I've gone through that mantra enough. Thank you.
That's actually Tony sort of going, "Brr."
Is Tony getting seasick?
No. He got bounced out of his chair, though, despite his seatbelt.
We need to get him a
I don't
booster.
know, I can see a penguin getting seasick. Have you seen a dog try to stand up in a car?
But once you descend onto the surface of the water, things are much, 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 much more pleasant.
Cool.
Because the waves no longer matter.
Under the sea.
All right, and you descend underwater, and for a long period of time,
Thank God
Sorry?
that John doesn't have control of the radio.
Oh, it would be. It would be.
Yeah, and CJ, Tony does probably have a booster seat, because otherwise the seatbelts really wouldn't work. Tony is, not tiny, but he's not big.
Until he evolves into Empoleon.
Not content to just be a penguin, he becomes a mecha penguin.
It's a matter of time.
I approve of this.
At any rate, so you are descending you're descending down to the bottom of the Atlantic.
Right.
You're not in the Marianas Trench because that would be stupid.
Mm.
And our van would be crushed.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're not really. Tony did not build this to go that deep.
Was it last week we were discussing the whole spaceships underwater thing, or last time out?
You were discussing the feasibility of turning this into a spaceship,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is the exact opposite situation.
Yeah, I would know there's a quote ringing through my head, and I know we went through it last time, but I can't remember
Futurama.
where it's from.
It's from
Yes, that's
Futurama.
it. Yep, I remember. I remember the quote now. Moving on.
Yes.
Between 1 and 0.
That's the one.
Major Sense is actually completely spot on. Space does have less pressure than the trench.
Space has less pressure
Far
than
less
my
pressure.
room.
How come whenever I see things, you guys always tell me I'm drunk or crazy or ate too much candy?
At any rate, so you descend and descend, and it is dark. But you have lights, because otherwise this would be sort of a terrible idea.
Right.
And also a really crappy van.
I mean, it might still be a terrible idea, but
But yes, you have floodlights, and you're able to get down deep enough, and you can now see a fairly stunning sight, actually, as you get closer, because you start seeing lights from down below you. Because you're getting close to Atlantis, which in fact is lit.
Yay.
And you see you see an enormous well, it's very clearly a city. Large numbers of they don't. The thing you notice is that it sort of looks more sort of larger and more sprawling than most surface cities, but that's because they don't tend to build as high for what I'd call obvious reasons.
Yeah.
What does it seem to be made of?
It looks like most of the buildings are made of some sort of stone.
Oh, I was hoping for Rapture, but with fish people.
Most of the buildings tend to be sort of vaguely. You see, tend to be sort of mostly sort of dome-like. To help sort of shrug off pressure and such. Though there are a few that are less, designed from a purely practical standpoint. I mean, you see buildings of all the buildings tend to be sort of simultaneously look very sturdy, but yet somehow manage to have a sort of strange elegance to them. As you sort of see them. The other thing you notice is that there are several portions of the city which seem to be, you can sort of see buildings and such in them, but they seem to be covered by transparent domes.
These must be habitation centers.
Maybe. In fact, you see a bunch of them all over the place, and you also notice that you can sort of see what look like, almost like those walkways you sort of see in that people like they have in like aquariums that go underneath the big tanks.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Aquarium tunnels.
Yeah, basically, you sort of see it's sort of like you're seeing those from the outside in some places. And as you're going along, you receive a. I don't think how they're going to communicate with you. Because if I remember correctly, radio does not work underwater. If I remember correctly.
Morse code.
They could use tight beam lasers.
They're going to arrange the city lights in such a way that they play Pong.
No, that is actually a possibility.
Yeah, radio waves do not travel well through good electrical conductors like salt water.
They could use directed electrical pulses to achieve the same effect.
Yeah, sonar.
Okay, you are contacted over
Magic.
no. it is possible. Normal radio doesn't work, but you can use up to a certain depth. You can use very low frequency radio, and if you down to hundreds of meters below the surface, which is roughly where you are. You're not miles down or anything like that. Well, not miles away. You can use ELF radio, down to like 300 hertz.
All right.
Works for me.
So you were contacted on a very low frequency radio. And they sort of let's see. This is let's see how they're going to phrase this. This is Atlantis Seaport Control to unidentified vessel. Please identify yourselves and your destination.
Hello there, Atlantis. This is the Star City Sentinels. We are responding to a summons by your queen.
One moment. Yes, there is a period of,
Atlantean music.
Yeah, we're just like listening to like various advertisements over the radio waves.
I mean, there is some sort of music that's playing, but it's not like anything you've heard before. No, it does not sound like whale song. Nor does it sound like Under the Sea.
Do you suffer from fin rot?
Oh dear. But shortly thereafter, after about 5 minutes, you receive Star City Sentinels. This is Atlantean Seaport Control. You are cleared to land in Dome 13. We will light up a trail for you to follow. Please follow that in and enjoy your stay. You'll be met at the seaport by your escorts. Enjoy your stay.
Thank you very much.
Yay!
Have a good day.
And you notice along the bottom you see sort of lights lighting up along the bottom and trailing off towards one of the big transparent domes.
Whee.
I assume you follow them.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
absolutely.
All right, so you've come floating up. You come sort of moving up in your submarine up to the edge of the dome. You don't really see any sort of thing that looks like an entrance. But it looks like you
Grabbing
can sort of,
speed!
what you see on the inside is
no,
it
no.
looks kind of like there is. What you see on the inside really looks like almost like an airport, except underwater, and not with like the giant control tower or anything like that. They've got a control tower type thing. It looks sort of like, but
Do the lights just lead directly into
they
the
lead
dome?
directly up to the edge of the dome. You do see what look like a bunch of. It looks kind of like an airport, except that it looks more. It looks like a weird cross between an airport and a seaport, like an actual port, like with docks and such. And you see a bunch of what look like you see a few submarines docked there actually, of various makes and models.
Okay. I will slow down, but still approach the dome,
All right.
and kind of with one hand reach for a rebreather device and just kind of like put it on my lap.
All right. So do you go through the edge of the dome?
I attempt to.
Okay. You pass straight through it. You're not entirely sure what's going on, but as you're piercing through it, you hear sort of strange, sort of crackling noises from the radio and from some of the various bits of electronics in the ship. But that's eventually sorts itself out, and you're on the other side, riding down with sort of a stream of water from where you were. Basically, it looks sort of almost like you're on sort of like a flume. So it's this sort of stream of water rushing down that sort of guides you down into one of the docks.
It's a submarine
Cool.
now.
And basically, you come in and sort of it's the water sort of. You notice that you're slowing down somewhat as you come down, and you come gently into position.
Okay, well, I will get there and put it in park, so to speak.
You notice out through the windows that there are a group of Atlanteans. You'd say there are about 10 of them. Two of them look like they are. They look like they are. From what you've seen of the ambassador, they're wearing sort of similar style clothing to what she was wearing from when you last met her. From when you met her, except it looks more expensive somehow.
Huh.
It's it's more sort of, it's got more adornments, more jewelry, stuff like that. Although most of the jewelry are sort of like bracelets and stuff, and they don't really do the whole earring thing
All right.
for obvious reasons. But like necklaces and bracelets and such. There's a male, there's a woman and a man who are dressed like that. The rest of them are very, very clearly soldiers. Because they're all wearing uniforms, they're all carrying weapons of various sorts. The uniforms again look very stylized almost. It honestly sort of, for some reason, sort of makes you think somewhat of like an honor guard type thing.
Okay.
Makes sense.
The dock's being way too distracted by all the neat architecture.
Considering that we probably can't open the side doors, I assume we have a topside hatch.
Trying to think.
Logically, yes, but
Sure, I'll give you one. What the hell?
All right then.
I'll be nice.
Opening the door would be a bit troublesome.
Oh, I know. I was just thinking that. Wow, I'm not sure Tony would have thought of that. But yeah, we'll assume that they decided it's possible you might need to get out of the thing while the thing is in the water on the surface.
We've got a sunroof.
Effectively. So you open the roof, which surprises most of the. Honestly, there's while the guards are not looking particularly, they're not really having much of expression. It's very clear from what you're sort of seeing through the window, and as you emerge from the top of your vehicle, that the woman is doing her damnedest to look very polite and keeping all sort of incredulity off her face. Her male companion is not doing anywhere near as good a job. He is sort of goggling at your vehicle.
And how utterly ridiculous it is.
Yes.
Wait till he sees what's inside it.
Well, a lot of you get out. I'm going to assume that you have some sort of that you've got some sort of ramp to come down off the side on, because otherwise it'll just look really silly.
If we
Yes.
don't, I'm just jumping across.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure how Tony would get out of the thing then.
Mark! I'll carry.
Yeah, one of us would have to carry him.
Yes, exactly. But no, there is a ramp that Tony put there for exactly this sort of reason.
Actually, thinking about it, I'm pretty sure Sophia never actually went to see the ambassador, so she probably hasn't seen Atlanteans outside of photography at this until now.
And as you descend down,
This is
you
really
notice
cool.
that the woman sort of shakes her head a little bit and smiles and walks forward, walks forward to meet you. And her male companion sort of shakes his head and struggles to get his composure
Get his
back.
shit together.
And eventually he sort of does the equivalent of sort of clearing his throat and comes walking forward with a practiced diplomatic smile.
So a fake one.
Oh, well, you'd guess so. It's a little hard to tell with Atlanteans. Their facial expressions
Right.
are somewhat different than humans. But
With the gills.
yeah.
All right.
The woman sort of looks up and says, the Sentinels, and guests. We have, I am, hang on a second.
I forgot
I'm
my
an
name. Hang on.
amnesiac.
No, I need to look up, I need to get her title right. I am Valeria, Duchess of Hyperion, and this is my husband. What is his name? Hang on.
Jim.
Bad dragon, right? Bad.
This is my husband, Caledon. We wish to extend the welcome of the royal of Her Majesty and of the people of Atlantis to you. I hope your trip was a pleasant one.
As well as could be expected, ma'am.
What are these domes made out of? These are really cool.
As the entire group, including Tony, face palms, except for Dr. Arcane.
What did I just say your husband's name was?
Caledon.
Caledon. That's what I thought. I'm having trouble reading my notes. The Duke sort of says, they are, from what I understand, they're a combination of various methods. It's a combination of force fields and electromagnetics.
Interesting.
Really? Is it purely technological? Do you include any alchemical or thaumaturgical devices in their construction?
From what I understand, this is purely technological. We used to use a purely magical system before. It turned out to be more reliable.
Huh. Well, I guess that would be true. I mean, you always have fluctuations in the mana field, and I just trail off.
I'm going to kind of drag him away from the conversation.
So he sort of looks at. He starts. Yeah, yes. If you don't mind me asking, what sort of vehicle is that?
This is a custom job made by a penguin.
Mark.
It's a van.
He looks down at Tony, who sort of waves at him, looking about as smug as a penguin could look.
He kind of like angles his flippers to plant them on his hips.
Smug mode activated.
You know, and out of nowhere, he produces a pair of shades and just flips them straight over his face.
Smugwin.
He sort of looks down and sort of says, the penguin built the... I was not aware penguins were sentient. Mark!
This,
Most aren't, but what's really going to twist your mind is how does he hold the tools?
Caledon sort of has a look of looks down at Pony's fins, and it just has a look of sheer incredulity spread across his face.
I'm hoping he
right.
falls
I mean,
on
I've
his
tried
ass laughing.
all sorts of things. Tactile telekinesis and sort of ambient magical fields. I don't know either. It's vexing.
Mark.
Oh man.
Anyways, the Duchess sort of chuckles a little bit and says, as intriguing as all this is, and it's honestly, we've seen stranger things than a sentient penguin who can hold tools in his flippers. But yes, will your vehicle be all right there, or I assume it's fairly watertight, given that you were. It looks like one of those ground vehicles, a van, but
It
different.
is. It's very heavily modified. It can even fly through the air.
Caledon looks even more perplexed.
I'm hoping he just
See,
falls on his
yeah,
ass
so-
laughing.
Yeah. You live underwater. I know damn well you know about aerodynamics, or at least hydrodynamics.
Yes, that's why he's there going, wait, what? Yeah, it turns out he sort of has engineering as a hobby. So none of this makes any goddamn sense to him. Like, what?
Oh, she's Doctor Who. Sweet.
The Duchess sort of pats him on the shoulder and says, don't worry about it, dear. At any rate, she says, if you'll come with us, assuming your vehicle will be fine there, you may want to. We'll keep it under guard, but if you prefer to bring it onto land, or since it apparently is a car or whatever it's called, I think car is the right word, correct?
Yeah, that
Automobile?
works.
An automobile, yeah.
Hmm.
Having it on land would probably be easier on it, yes.
Well, I guess we could. We do have ramps that we could lower down to the water for you to bring it up out of the water. I think. She turns to one of the guards and says something in what you assume is Atlantean.
In fish.
He nods, and two of them go wandering off. They'll come back with some with some stuff so you can bring your vehicle up out of the water.
All right then.
I'm going to elect that Tony do the driving up the ramp just to prove that he can do it.
Yes.
Oh,
so she
no,
says-
go on.
And now you have the question of how does he reach the pedals?
oh, that's easy. He's got switches there to move the pedals up to his level.
Ah.
Mark.
He wouldn't build the van if it wasn't possible for him to drive it. How could he test things otherwise? At any rate, after about, the Duchess basically continues to make small talk, and Duchess and her husband continue to make small talk while the guards eventually come back with a couple of, those two guards come back with a couple of, effectively, engineers and such, and they basically set a ramp down into the dock, and whoever ends up driving it onto land does so. Tony, you can do it if you guys want him to.
If they want him to.
Whatever.
All right, Tony sort of waddles back up the ramp, brings it back in. You hear some sort of noises of the van changing, modifying itself. And he basically drives it up the ramp and onto land. Closes the roof. Opens the door. Hops out. Comes
Shuts the
waddling
door.
up with keys in hand.
Jerk,
And,
jerk.
yep, exactly. The doors close, and he sort of tosses the keys to Aaron. Mark.
Good job.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Kaladon is sort of sitting there looking, watching. And eventually it looks like he's decided he's just going to roll with it at this point.
Like, you know what? Okay.
I have now seen more impossible things than I thought I was going to see today.
Oh, wait until John figures out his the makeup kit for this.
Sadly, John really can't do Atlanteans.
Yeah, that's the problem. John's literally, to pardon the pun, a fish out of water. He really can't do much in this environment. At least not the espionage style.
Well, that's the thing. So anyway, she says, we'll... Her Majesty would love to see you as soon as possible, but she has a busy day today. She will be free tomorrow morning after after breakfast, but before lunchtime.
Very well. Thank you.
We call that the morning. Never mind.
So, we'll bring you to where you'll be staying. We have lovely set of rooms in your in the in one of our nicer hotels that has been kitted out for land dwellers.
Excellent.
Anyway, they lead you over to the entrance into the port, where you see a vehicle there. You see a couple of vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is they honestly, it looks a lot like a. Basically, it looks like a. It's clearly a submarine. Basically, you're basically going through an airlock into a small submarine. Because it's going to be traveling to the dome where the city is, where another dome.
Right.
So this is their version of the shuttle, like an airport shuttle.
Yeah, basically. Well, actually, it's when you get inside, you realize it's actually more like their version of a limo.
Ooh.
Limo sub.
Well, you are riding with, you're being
Royalty.
escorted by a duchess. I mean,
Yeah.
Is it a stretch submarine?
not as such, but there's room for a lot of people in there. Two of the guards get in with you. They are very clearly bodyguards. The rest of them pile into another vehicle behind them, which is less like a submarine. It's more like sort of It's sort of like an underwater boat. It's it's open. It doesn't it doesn't have the enclosed cockpit that holds in the enclosed area that holds in air and such.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they basically just sort of swim out to it as opposed to going out in the airlock. And so you travel along the submarine, which moves quite quickly through the water. In all honesty, it moves faster than any submarine that you've heard about.
Yeah, makes sense.
This is one of those things that the Atlanteans are actually good at. Moving
what
things
if I-
underwater. Who knew?
It seems like it would be, yeah.
Basically, their underwater propulsion systems are very, very good and very efficient.
I would certainly hope so.
Yes. You are given drinks of various sorts. Most of what they serve, honestly, most of what they have on here is their equivalent of fruit juices of various sorts from various underwater plant life that have. None of them are. Nothing seems to have been. There's nothing alcoholic though. Oh, that was something you noticed when you were dealing with the ambassadors, that she didn't have anything alcoholic either of her own stuff. Though she did have a few alcoholic drinks that you're guessing were there for. They were all terrestrial and were for guests.
Ah, gotcha.
Sophia approves of this.
The doctor is disappointed, but trying not to show it.
Well, the juice is very, 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 very good. It's not very sweet, but it's very tasty.
This is a very smooth flavor.
Honestly, for the doc, it reminds you of, in some weird way, of. It's like drinking a very good wine that somehow is, but it's not alcoholic, and it's very strange. It has a
Okay.
lot of the same notes.
It's raisin juice.
It's definitely odd. It's apparently, when you ask, it's made from some. It's made from basically from the seed, basically a fruit equivalent from some as I said, some underwater plants, which
It's crushed sea cucumbers.
sea cucumbers are not plants.
I know, which is why I thought it was funny.
But yes, the trip over
Sea
is
cucumbers
fine.
also kind of disgusting looking.
Yes.
I've touched one.
Is there anything you want to ask the two of them while you're traveling, or talk to them about?
I suppose we could ask them if they know why we have been called here in particular,
Sure.
and all right, and if so, if they would be willing to share that information with us.
The Duchess nods and says, I don't know all of the details. I only know a few things. I only know a little bit. I know a little bit about what it's about. Her Majesty will fill you in more detail when you meet with her. Part of it is a thanks for dealing with her cousins, as well as you did. And she understood that it was not your fault they were broken into prison, although they were delivered here by. We were sort of surprised that Superiana sort of flew in, dropped them off, and then flew out again.
Mm.
The two of them were not very happy with her afterwards.
Maybe they shouldn't have been such jerks to her.
Anyway,
But yes, part of it's that. Part of it is, since you have had some interactions with them, and therefore you are aware of some of what is going on behind the scenes. I believe she's going to ask you for some assistance with dealing with some of this stuff, if it's at all possible. There's some stuff that will probably... I don't know how much it will take place. I suspect that it's mostly asking you for assistance with some stuff back where you're from.
I see.
But she can't obviously, since she's not. It's something of a. It's somewhat time sensitive. She has no scheduled trips to the surface in the next within the next several months. And it'd be better if it was not official.
Whoa.
It's okay, I just dropped something.
Oh, okay, I thought it was Peter's mic exploding.
It's not my mic exploding.
I thought I thought like a cat fell off something.
Meow.
But I do not know the exact details per se. I wish I did. I wish I could tell you more. But Her Majesty has been somewhat circumspect about it. But I do know she's going to be... She did tell me that she was going to be asking a favor of you all.
Alright then.
I see.
And
you know
I
if you'll
think I
have
believe it
time
has something
to-
to do with the organization her cousins were involved with. I can't give you more details than that right now, though.
Oh,
And for that, I do
we will
apologize.
do our best to grant her request.
That is most gratifying.
Just curiosity, I noticed that there's no beverages of an alcoholic nature here. My initial thought is that there's not really any means for easy fermentation down here, so it's just not something that your culture has developed.
The two, she sort of, she chuckled. Her husband, she and her husband chuckle. Yeah. We Atlanteans don't react to alcohol in the exact same way that most of you surface dwellers do.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's not something we can. I mean, we can ingest it and it won't kill us, but it doesn't have a particularly pleasant effect on us in a biological sense, the way it does for many surface dwellers.
John puts that piece of information away for later.
Let's face it, you already put it away.
Any tactical
No, that's
advantage.
interesting. Remind me never to offer any Atlanteans alcoholic beverages.
They'll probably remind you themselves if you are transparent enough about it. In any event, thank you for answering my question.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
And as a side note, Sophia is pretty much recording everything that is said and seen to her suit's databanks.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Big Brother is watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Big sister, but yes.
Okay then. Let's see.
Right, so as you're traveling along, you moved into another one of the domes. So you're still traveling through you're now traveling through a large tube, which is sort of like almost like a underwater highway in some ways. There are a bunch of other submarines and such moving through the area. So a bunch of vehicles, some submarines, some of the more vehicles are more like the ones the rest of the guards are traveling in. It's a very large tube. You guess it's probably roughly about as wide as a 2 lanes each side street, but in 3 dimensions and such.
Mm-hmm.
I get you. Yeah.
So it's like a large. It's like a big a big sort of major street in the city, but it's a cylinder filled with water.
Neat.
Yeah. And as you're traveling along, the outside part of it is actually transparent. So you can see down into the city below, and you notice that it's sort of a interesting mix of there are areas which are clearly fully filled with water, and areas where there's sort of a barrier that cuts off, and it becomes like it's dry land on the other side of the barrier and such. The barriers seem to look like very similar to the outside of the dome you went through with the submarine. Sort of similar look. You can see people walking. You can sort of see in the water-filled area. You see Atlanteans swimming around, and when you get outside, you see Atlanteans. On the other side, you see Atlanteans walking around and such. And you also notice that there are a few. You notice that there are humans walking around also. So
We did see
not a lot, but there are some.
I see other submarines here. I trust that you have a fuel supply that we would be able to use to return to the surface.
Oh, for your vehicle? For your vehicle?
Yes.
Oh, we do have stores of both petroleum and I believe diesel fuels.
Excellent.
So
Which way do we need?
So they list off the sorts of fuels they have available. They keep stores that in case they need to help refuel somebody who uses those things. I'm not sure that's actually what your vehicle uses though. I've never really bothered deciding what your van uses because
Pure awesome.
I like to think gasoline just because of Zabungle.
well, I'm not sure you use normal gasoline because given that you have jet engines on the thing.
Right.
It's fueled by the tears of orphans.
And John collects them.
I'm just gonna keep with my idea because I like Zabungle for having giant robots that operate on gasoline and steer with steering wheels.
Isn't that how that one season of Power Rangers went?
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't watch too much of that.
Well, neither
Yeah.
did I.
More than me,
I
apparently.
seem to remember there was a season of Power Rangers involving cars.
There's 3 actually,
Some-
but yeah, most of them use steering wheels when they do.
Okay. I'm going to, looking down, say, you seem to have. Your city seems to be designed with the intent of housing a variety of different peoples.
Oh yes, Her Majesty. We decided that it would be when after she took over and made reaffirmed treaties with various surface nations and such. That it would be a good idea to have it parts of the city where parts of our lands where we can actually interact with surface dwellers here.
It makes sense.
So, while the majority of Atlantis proper is water, is underwater. Is filled with water. We do have a few sections that are like dry land for the exact reason of having a place where surface dwellers can come, and part of it is honestly for commercial reasons, tourism for the most part. I mean, there are it's harder to come to Atlantis as a tourist than many places on the surface. There are more regulations about it.
I imagine it's slightly easier than the space tourism that's going on right now.
It's
Or
cheaper.
getting to North Korea.
But it is both difficult and expensive to come to Atlantis. There is a non-insignificant portion of Atlantis that still are prejudiced against surface dwellers for various reasons.
Hmm.
Does that mean that there are travel restrictions for surface dwellers?
For surface, that would depend on exactly what forms and such they filled out before they came, and the reasons they are here. In your case, as long as you have an escort, you are free to go basically anywhere you want to in the city.
Neat.
All right, then.
You have no restrictions in any of the non-aquatic portions of town. In the aquatic portions of town, you will need you will be required to have an escort, and basically just so you let us know where you're going. Also,
Understand.
honestly, since this is your first trip to Atlantis, even if you are skilled at operating underwater, it is still somewhat different. So we would feel safe. We feel better if we have someone with you who is, an Atlantean. You have an Atlantean with you, so they know how someone who knows how to assist and is able to assist in case something. Well, in case you have trouble.
In case something goes wrong.
Yes.
Entirely understandable and reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Then you notice that the vehicle is peeling out of the big tube and is going down a smaller tube, and eventually comes up to basically another dock, another airlock. And you hear sort of machinery clamping inside the thing, and then you hear air being cycled and such, and then the door opens, and you can just follow. What? This is we are at the hotel now. If you'll come with us.
Certainly.
So they come out as the first basically the bodyguards go. One of the bodyguards comes out first. Actually, both bodyguards go in first. No, one goes in first. The other waits behind. I'm just sort of thinking of the logistics of this.
Marching order.
Exactly. And you come down the tube into the hotel, down the airlock tube into the hotel proper. The inside of the hotel looks, honestly, a lot like the interior of most 4-star hotels on the surface.
That's somewhat disappointing.
Does it have those little mini canals with the water running in between, like on platforms?
Kinda. I'm getting there. At first glance, it really does look. It's kind of, if you like, honestly, for those of you, for any of you guys who are, your characters are from Star City, it's like basically being at the whatever, like say the Ritz. I'm gonna say it's called the Ritz, the most expensive hotel in the city, the big 4-star hotel in Star City. It's eerily similar to like that. It's sort of hauntingly familiar. It's like this is. You're looking at it's like this is very similar. Then you notice that there are, as you look around, there are a lot more large pools of water, and honestly, it looks like sort of channels and such. That sort of almost like they're like the lobby itself has almost like large sort of almost hot tubs, except they're not hot tubs. They're sort of pools. You can sort of see Atlanteans sort of reclining in them, chatting with humans who are sitting outside them, sort of at like on chairs, sort of chatting with the Atlanteans sitting in the pool and such. There's and the Duchess sort of escorts Duchess and her bodyguards. You notice the other bodyguards who are in the vehicle behind you have come in also, and they're sort of moving through. While you are all getting sort of looks and such, it's not like people are gawking and staring. It's more sort of superheroes, interesting. Surface on superheroes. Oh, honestly, the Duchess and her guards are getting more notice than you are, almost.
Oh, it's the Duchess and her guests, I guess.
Yeah, basically. It's like,
Okay.
ooh, nobility.
Oh, look, humans in ridiculous costumes. What won't they wear? Is that the Duchess?
Yeah, basically. You come up to the counter, and the woman, the receptionist behind the desk, sort of looks up and says, Duchess, and your guests. I have your guest's key, your guest's keys here, room keys and such. You guys did know how many people were coming, so they actually were expecting the number you brought. And so it's so 5 keys. She brings up 5 keys and sets them on the counter.
Are they key cards or actual keys?
They're key cards.
Oh.
Why did you want an actual key?
Because keys are cool.
I will take the key card issued to me, and I will hand.
Some people you can entertain by just jangling keys in front of their face. With Dr. Arcane, you just need one.
I'm also going to hand Wark his key card
Mark.
because he's probably too short to reach.
In fact, yes. The receptionist sort of notices you heading down, sort of peers over the counter and sees Tony. She blinks a couple of times, shrugs, and sort of leans back. Tony is wheeling a small suitcase behind him. Because the image is too adorable to not have.
Yeah.
So, the Duchess basically walks. The Duchess and her husband walk with you to the elevators and sort of says, "Here we must part, unfortunately. If you need to get," she basically reaches into her basically she has a bag. She pulls out. She actually snaps. She sort of gestures to one of the guards, who comes forward with a basically who's got a big satchel, and she nods at him. And he sort of reaches in and he pulls out a small sort of envelope, sort of big thick envelope for each of you. And she says, "In there, we've provided you with cellular phones that work on the network down here.
Oh, thank you.
The phones will have there are cards in there which have your number on there, the numbers of the other 4 phones, and contact information for if you need to number for you that you can call if you need to arrange a trip somewhere that outside of the. If you need to arrange a trip of any sort, honestly."
Basic emergency numbers and travels.
Emergency numbers, travel numbers. There's a number to the palace, but it's only to the one of the secretaries there. If you need to actually contact the palace,
All right.
You've got our secretary's number in there as well. And additionally, if you there's also an information there's a number for sort of information, so that sort of basically a traveler's effectively the equivalent of AAA, basically.
Okay.
So all sorts of useful information about the city and such, where you can go and such, and locations of restaurants, etc., museums, and the like.
Excellent. Museums.
The city is yours until your time is yours until the meeting tomorrow. I
Don't change your
suspect
mind.
that the Her Majesty's Secretary will call you at some point this evening before it gets too late to give you a time tomorrow, the specific time when you expected to meet you. She would like to, the meeting would be best.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very well.
It's been most gracious.
I hope you have an excellent stay. Take care.
Have a good day.
All right, and you get into the elevator, and there's an elevator operator in there. He looks at you all, looks at your key cards, nods, and pushes the button for the floor you're headed to.
I'm actually going
Goes
to
up the
ask
floor.
the elevator operator a question.
Feel free to ask.
I noticed that we didn't get as many stairs as heroes from our area usually get. I trust you have your own set of heroes down here?
He sort of looks over at you and sort of says, "Surface dwellers have been coming down here enough over the years that while you are noteworthy, we've seen other heroes down here before. So, yes."
All right, then. Incidentally, have you ever heard of a hero named Nautican?
He pauses for a second and says, "I believe I've heard of him, but I believe he operates out on the West Coast. So,
He does. He's a bit of an associate of mine.
sorry, actually, that's what he says. I heard he operates out in the Pacific."
Yeah, there we are.
It's like, no, he wouldn't
Yeah.
mention the coast.
Yeah. Yes, he's an associate of mine. I'm wondering if he was possibly from here. He never spoke much about himself.
Not that I'm aware of. For what I understood, he's human.
All right, then.
Would you happen to know the last time that heroes visited here?
Oh, certainly. That heroes visited here? There was a contingent from England who came here. Both England and I believe some from other of the other countries in Europe. There's a convocation of some of the wizards from that area who was here. Various heroic wizards who were here about 3 months ago, actually. Yes, the current Merlin actually was one of them who's here 3 months ago.
Damn
Would you
it,
happen to
missed
know
it.
would you happen to know on what business he was attending?
I believe there was some sort of conference they were having with some of the some Atlantean wizards.
I see. I think we know what that's probably about.
Likely so.
Okay.
I'm going to thank the elevator operator for their time. I would honestly. Damn, did they take human money?
I actually come
Is it
right
tip?
out and ask, what's the tradition for tipping in this situation?
Yeah, I was like, I would give you a tip, but I don't know if you take human money.
He says, as a general rule, we make enough that the custom of tipping isn't really necessary. But
Yes, they are enlightened.
Don's like, hallelujah.
If someone does a
makes sense,
superlative job, a small tip is acceptable.
It makes sense. Tipping isn't that big in Europe, and they're closer to Europe than
Yep.
the United States.
That's why I went with that. In all honesty.
Yeah. So they must
Swear to
like
God,
American
that was
human
the mo-
tourists.
That was the single most confusing thing I had to work out when I was in the US.
Oh, figuring out tips.
How? Hang on, it's like right, okay. How the fuck much do? Why do I have to give you extra money?
Well, there's probably also that bit in that's probably also where that
Reservoir
bit
Dogs. Yeah.
well, and also waiting, where it's like, oh, we are foreigners, we don't understand tipping. It's like, I know you understand. Fuck you.
Oh dear.
Yeah, okay. Good to know.
Indeed.
So yes,
What's our room like?
well, you have multiple rooms, but you have 5.
Sweet.
Convenient.
You each get a room. They're very nice.
First thing John's gonna do is pass the phone he's been given to Tony and ask him to check it for bugs. Take it apart, making sure it's clean.
Do they have water beds? Oh, that's terrible, Dragon, right?
Oh.
Well, John, you do know that, of course they're bugged. Why wouldn't they be bugged? It's probably an integrated part of the machine.
And
I mean, depending on the model of phone, you can bug people using a phone on the surface. You just turn it on remotely, and they'll never know. Didn't you know that?
John's gonna have Tony's communicator. Make that work.
I am actually going to take the phone and calibrate my own suit's communication systems to act as a go-between.
Fair enough. Yeah, Tony goes over it and finds no actual,
Devices.
installed devices. No.
CJ. Well, to be
You make
fair,
bets that
how
Tony's
many
service will
seven?
be considered significantly higher than everyone else's.
to be fair, I mean, he's short. He's got to find entertainment in the room that's at his, reach level. So the minibar's right there. So
Oh, jeez. You ordered how many fish?
fish,
Fish is trout a la crème. Enjoy your meal.
fish.
Today's specialty is trout a la creme.
Fish!
That could go all day.
Enjoy your meal. I will.
I feel like I've started something that I don't understand.
That's right. Word has not seen Red Dwarf, so
Oh,
Get the fuck out.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
found a piece of graffiti on the street that where someone had written "fish" on the side of one of those big power boxes.
Yeah.
Someone else had written "Today's fish is trout a la crème. Enjoy your meal." Then someone else had written "fish," and it went different handwriting.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Today's been great. I've slept 5 times, I've eaten 4 times, and I made a whole lot of things mine. Now I'm gonna find something to have sex with.
Cat is a wonderful character.
He is. That's why I like that show. There's not a bad character in it.
Nope. All right, so yes, as near as can be told, none of the phones seem to be bugged in any way, shape, or form.
How long until roughly what time of day is it down here?
Right now, it's about I'd say it's roughly. It's pretty much about It's like mid afternoon.
Oh, so we have nothing but time.
Nope.
I'm going to look at the bed and assess to see if it can actually withstand holding myself and the suit.
How heavy is your suit?
Around 200.
Oh, yeah, then it goes.
Oh yeah, that's
That will
Yeah,
not
total
break the
weights
bed.
over.
the doctor's suit is probably heavier considering it's cold
Made out of
iron.
cold
and
iron?
crap stuck on it. Yeah. Cold iron or calcum. It's kind of really heavy.
Fair enough.
So, if seems we have nothing but time before our royal audience, let's say we go to a museum and maybe catch a show and get some food. What do you guys say? Says the cat.
Mac, your timing is impeccable. Yeah, come in here, you. As for going to a museum and observing their culture, I have no
Yes.
objections to that.
Excellent. Come on, you two also. And Tony, and I think that's everybody.
Hmm.
But yes,
I'm a bit sketchy on having Tony be around on his own because they're used to seeing humans hanging around here, not so much penguins.
Which is why he'll come with us.
I'm just worried that he might get separated or something.
Kind of harsh of him to say, "Hey Tony, do you want to come to Atlantis?" Yeah, great. You get to stay in the room.
Mark.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I'm
All right.
just looking out for him.
All right, so those of you who are going out and about, go out and about. As I said, you do see humans around. There are not a ton of humans. Most of the people you actually see are humans. If you when you talk to them at all, do seem to be more. They seem to be mostly academics.
Mm-hmm.
There don't seem to be a lot of tourists per se.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, tourism
Actually-
doesn't strike me as a word that you'd associate with the lost city of Atlantis.
Actually, that actually reminds me of something. Our first stop should be a bank, so I can change to Atlantean currency.
That might be wise and convenient.
Yes.
Do
Okay.
you guys pay for things?
You are able to make some change and such. Do some exchanges. There is
Oh.
an official exchange rate.
I'm gonna pull 10,000 Atlantean, the equivalent of $10,000 in Atlantean.
Damn.
That's petty.
Doc's
cash,
gonna
maybe.
see if he can't arrange just a line of credit to his accounts on the surface.
That's going to be interesting.
That actually is probably not doable on short notice.
Okay.
Um,
I'll have to use actual real money.
yes.
I'll have to sully my hands with money.
I'll cover everything. I could.
No, it's fine. I would never dream of it.
It's really no big deal.
No, never a borrower nor a lender be.
Very well.
I, on the other hand, I'm quite happy to take your money.
Aaron is happy to, is content to sit back and let the rich people duke it out.
Mark.
John
Aaron just sits back. A crowd forms, and he's like, "Don't look at me. I'm just the chauffeur."
John goes over and hands Aaron a 20. Here, would you like to join in?
I'm not actually sure what we're talking about right now. I just came back.
We're changing money to Atlantean currency.
Mm.
But yeah, Sophia pulled 10,000 USD worth of Atlantean.
Jesus.
Do you carry that
Why
much
does everyone
cash on
react
you?
that way?
The one problem is, do you carry that much cash on you? Is the question.
Well, actually, here's the better question. What form of currency does it take? Is it electronic on like electronic
They're
chips.
not actually hooked into sort of like the normal like the electronic banking things for the Surface.
Okay, so there's
You
actually.
now have a wheelbarrow full of shells.
Heck.
I don't suppose I can just give me a wad of hundreds or something.
Well, I mean, it depends on if you're making an exchange. It depends on how much money you're carrying is the thing. So
Well, I've got the image of every time Sophia's given a bill, all you can hear is just like a printer going off inside a suit. Yeah.
She could afford to do that.
Yeah, I think the dog probably only got a couple hundred on him. He was kind of expecting to be able to draw on his accounts.
I'm going to say that she was expecting needing to change money, so having a good supply of it would be a good idea.
fair enough. Just saying, just letting you know, just to think about it. No, again, if you had to come back, if you had more lead, if you'd spent more lead time on setting up an accounts here, that's entirely doable.
Right, but it totally didn't occur to the doctor that they wouldn't be hooked up to the to the international financial system.
They're pretty darn isolationist, is the thing.
Yeah,
for the most part.
which it totally threw him for a loop. Why wouldn't you be hooked up? I mean, what about the stock exchange? And
What's a stock exchange?
Oh, they understand the stock exchange. They have their own. It just has nothing to do with the Surface.
Oh, that should be entertaining.
Krill are up 25 points.
The big thing is that they are only very recently becoming a little bit less isolationist and are opening trade a bit more.
Dragonrite Sophia would never have to get a part-time job in Atlantis. She's a billionaire.
At any rate, so you have plenty of cash.
Unfortunately,
You guys do have plenty of cash. It's not you have enough cash on you that
we
you'll be
end up
fine.
having to work in the equivalent of McDonald's because none of us thought to bring money. And now we have to make enough money to pay for the fuel for the van to get home.
Oh dear.
On the plus side, one of the things that you were provided in that little envelope, the envelope you were given, was a sort of a the part of the thing is that you are able to arrange, since you are here on Royal Summons. For the most part, you're not really going to have to pay for a lot of stuff, like going to museums and dinners and such. You're probably not going to have to really pay for that. Because you're here, as I said, on royal request, so that's sort of they're like
Right.
that's being
the
paid
stuff
for
that
by
the stuff that's included in being guests.
right, exactly,
Right. Cultural stuff is probably free for us.
Yep.
Yeah, but who's to say that we're going to be entirely on the up and up for this whole adventure? Best to prepare early.
Yes. No. It is a good idea.
Anyway, so we have money. Off to the museum.
Right, so you were able to go off. You're able to see various museums. The museums that are in the there aren't a lot of there are only a couple. There aren't that many museums in the area, in the sort of dry areas, as it were. I mean, there are a few, but they are. They're the ones that are sort of more aimed at the. The academics coming down from the surface world and and such.
That is actually just fine with the doctor.
I understand.
Being
Yeah,
an
for
academic
introduction
from the
to-
surface world.
Same.
But I mean, the big thing is that they're not really.
They're not showing a lot of actual Atlantean culture.
Well, they are. There are some. They're showing sort of spectrums of it. Really,
Right.
they're not like there aren't really much in the way of specialty museums per se in this area.
Yeah, these are the museum equivalent to the Museum of Natural History.
Yeah, things
Right.
like that. They're big. There are a few big museums that cover a wide spectrum of art of various arts and such and other things. But they aren't like they don't have everything.
It's not the Smithsonian.
Right. it's sort of the stuff. I mean, like if you really want to get the full sort of like if you were like really looking for stuff on Atlantean art, you'd probably want to have to go to somewhere in one of the non-dry areas. To an
I
actual
am going to have
Atlantean
to do that for
art museum.
shopping purposes.
Yeah, Sophia would definitely be more interested in a museum of technology.
They don't really have a museum of technology in this area.
Well, yes, but in one of the wet zones.
But yes, there are plenty of museums. There are a few museums. The Atlantean architecture. They base their stuff on Atlantean art and sort of Atlantean history and such. Yeah, Jack Razziel and Chet's got it spot on. They're vague because they're trying to expose a vast amount of the culture to the utterly foreign.
Yes.
Yep.
So they're giving you overviews of stuff, not like in-depth detail on anything. But yes, the museums are very lovely. They, of course, you can buy souvenirs and such there.
I'll pick up a few.
It's like the Museum of Science as opposed to the Museum of Nuclear Physics.
Along those lines, yeah. But yeah, there's it's if you're just hitting museums and such, it's lovely. Very, very different, and there's some things like some of the art is very alien. Because duh.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're fish people.
Yeah.
And what
Are
is
there
this?
any-
This is Dagon in repose.
I mean, honestly, there are some paintings that are actively disturbing that you get the impression are intended to be sort of beautiful in their own way.
Hmm.
The
So,
idea
you
that
look at
they're
your, like-
supposed to be the idea that they're supposed to be beautiful probably makes it even weirder.
Yeah, actually.
No, it can't be Dadaist because Dadaist is actually intended to be shit.
Well, there are pictures of strange, bizarre beings that are clearly intent that from the way it's presented, it's clearly supposed to be sort of this awe-inspiring mythological being type thing, but honestly look like sort of otherworldly horrors to human eyes.
I'm going to go over to Dr. Arcane.
Actually.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go poke him, point at one of says things like, "Isn't that Cthulhu?"
No. Cthulhu's fictional. See, this is actually the entity blah 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 blah, and yeah, he tried to eat mankind once. Guess he's got a different place here.
I can only assume.
Berkelak would have loved to see some of this.
Odds are he probably did at some point or another.
It's entirely possible.
But yes, and you also get to see a lot of paintings of various various types of sea life and such that you're like, oh, I think I've seen things being various deep sea animals that are that are known to exist, but you don't have a lot of records of on the surface, and they've got
Right.
routine paintings of them here and there.
Picture of Atlanteans, you learn frolicking with a colossal squid. Oh yeah, we have tons of them down here. There's a ranch just outside the city.
No,
We see the exact opposite of the fisherman's wife.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. It's like, huh. I wonder when they found the time to visit Japan.
Honestly, you do see a couple of things that are. You do see at least one painting of something that looks hauntingly like Godzilla. I mean, it's not like
Okay.
exact. It's sort of this weird sort of. It's distorted and clearly from a distance. And so one of the things you're like, is that?
Huh.
It would make sense in a way.
And they're definitely like paintings of like, and actually they're photograph. They're sort of their equivalent to photographs, effectively photographs of again like quite possibly you realize it's like it's a colossal squid. That is the biggest colossal squid I have ever that's bigger than anything we've ever heard of. And there are a lot of just sort of weird stuff. And there's like another thing you see some very old pictures that you're like, oh, that's cool. It's a great white shark. If I'm looking at the scale of that, that's too big to be a great white.
It's a megalodon.
Yeah. I mean, it's old, but it's like, what?
It's a dino shark.
Incidentally, speaking of
Do
things,
they have a sharktopus in here?
No, they do not have a sharktopus.
speaking of things that are from their perspective as opposed to ours, do they have any kind of an odd counterpoint to the whole mermaid legend that we had?
Not really, no.
Or like, well, are there like distorted visions of what the surface is like?
Oh, absolutely. There are a bunch of paintings of things from like paintings and interpretations and such of surface dwellers that are highly skewed, and paint them in a much rather negative light.
Right.
Much more. It's like you're looking at wow. It's like you're being these are almost monsters, almost
Hmm.
And like the implications are humans are you look at it, you get the impression that humans are, at least according to their sort of historical take in, are much more savage and violent than you honestly would think they would be.
Huh.
Though
I imagine this kind of art is on its way out.
well, yeah, to a
Or
degree.
during a resurgence.
And there is some stuff on like various heroes and such. There's most of it's on some of the more aquatically themed heroes and villains.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
There is actually another sort of there's actually a photo that surprises all of you actually when you realize that is actually a photo, and it's very clearly it's sort of in the section of the museum that's sort of on sort of like photojournalism and such that type of stuff.
Right.
And it's very clearly a battle in one of the cities between the soldiers and such, and being supported by the sort of the kingdom's mages and the official mages, the royal army and such, dealing with what is very clearly Archon with a bunch of his disciples.
Huh.
It's actually an old photo too.
I'm gonna check for a date on it.
Honestly, it dates back a fair ways.
Does it actually have a surfacer date on it, or is it all in Atlantean time
Oh,
keeping?
it's an Atlantean date clearly, but you're able to reverse engineer that. It's almost certainly you'd guess sort of somewhere between World War I and World War II.
Hmm. Well, this would explain why Merlin would be down here discussing things with the wizards.
Mm.
Honestly, it is the whoever captured the photo did a fantastic job. Because it is there's this it captures sort of the savagery of the battle despite despite the eerie sort of almost dead calmness of Archon in the middle of this horrific fury of death and destruction around him.
Yep, he's a jerk.
Yeah, photos don't lie.
You'd be surprised.
Though you actually do notice that there, if you sort of, you're able to actually get a translation on the article. And it's talking about Archon as if they've been the Atlantis, like Archon's actual history is not very well known. It's very clear that from reading this that the Atlanteans know something about him. Because they clearly are aware of who he was at that point. And the tone of the writing almost paints him almost as a tragic figure in some ways.
Curious.
Might be useful to get some more information on what they know about Archon here.
I agree.
Yep. There's also some like very old carvings that look very look like they date back to sort of you know the era of the ancient Greeks and such.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice that there's a figure and a name that pops up in them that pops up in several other paintings and other such. That's clearly a legendary figure from sort of from the Mediterranean areas. That seems to be associated mostly with the surface world, but occasionally occasionally sort of straying into the undersea areas, referring to simply as Thanatos.
Okay. I'm actually going to see about acquiring a replica of one of these carvings.
Okay.
I think it's the kind of thing hip hop that something Greek would like. The kind of thing Eris would like.
Yes.
I can't even
You're able to get a replica, sure.
I want to see that conversation when he gets home. You there, Greek?
Yeah. Oh, that would be all kinds of fireworks.
But yes, but beyond that, there's that's sort of the stuff you pick up in the museums.
Cool.
But yeah, the bits I forgot to finish about the whole thing with the one labeled Thanatos. It's very clear that it's sort of it's not actually sort of it's not really a name and more sort of a epithet for somebody or something that looks clearly sort of human, but it sort of the legends seem to be about a sort of a almost walking, sort of a walking disaster area almost of destruction and war and awfulness going on all around him.
Yeah, this is totally a thing Lita would be into. And probably knows more about this entity than I do off the top of my head.
Yeah, you've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking after Dr. Arcane, Sophia's going to head to the gift shop and get various souvenirs and replicas of Atlantean make and design.
Oh, the other thing you note from the sort of again from the more sort of historical areas is that Baron von Toten at some point did try to conquer Atlantis and failed miserably.
I was wondering about that.
God damn it! How dare they fight in 3 dimensions?
Yeah, that's actually sort of part of the problem, in all honesty.
No, I can't fly over them.
It was a combination of, okay, well, I'm not used to operating underwater. Most of my troops aren't very good underwater. Most of the mercenaries I hired aren't very good at fighting underwater. And their mages are actually good. They've got a bunch of them. This is not optimal for me. Screw this, I'm leaving. I'm going to be right back, I need to get some water.
Serious anymore.
Okay, let's see here. Boom, 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 boom.
Also, I want to try Atlantean food while we're here.
Sure that we will probably have to.
Assuming that we haven't gotten our call yet, yeah, Sophia has no objections to a trip to a restaurant.
Fair enough.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
All right, so I heard you guys mentioning that food. All right,
Yes.
so yes, you were able to get to a restaurant. The the seating is dealt with. They're able to come up with something for Sophia and for Tony. Doc, are you wearing your armor?
No, but I've got that summoning ritual on standby in case something stupid happens.
Okie dokie. So yes, you are.
String.
No, we can't stop thinking about it.
Nope.
So yes, you are. The food is unsurprisingly primarily fish-based,
Uh-huh.
with various underwater plants as well.
Kelp.
Yep, fair to that.
Ooh,
Plankton.
I do like the seaweed.
But the interesting thing is there is some small amounts of stuff imported from the surface.
Try beef. It's like fish but red.
No, there's not much in the way of food of meats that have been imported from the surface. Mostly
Hey,
plant matter and
peanuts.
such. Vegetables and some fruits and such. No, the fruits don't really show up the fruits do not show up with the fish.
Well, yeah.
Try our exotic delicacy, French fries.
Yes. It's the only place in the world you'll ever go and like go to a fancy restaurant and order a fucking Big Mac.
Yeah.
That is one of the things you do note, though. There is not a McDonald's or anything like that to be seen anywhere.
I take comfort in this notion.
Yeah, none of the fast food chains have made it down here.
That's actually very surprising.
Well,
That is
again,
very
they're fairly
surprising
isolationist, so.
I bet that they're working their asses off on it.
Oh, McDonald's is almost certainly trying to get here.
It only took them a week to open McDonald's after the Soviet Union fell.
Yeah,
They weren't underwater.
yeah. There are some logistical problems.
It's not a matter of finding an audience.
McDonald's, first restaurant on the moon.
And yet there's a Starbucks.
No, not the fucking Starbucks.
See, I live in a weird town. It's like one of the only ones I know that doesn't have a Starbucks, a Subway, or a McDonald's.
Or a what?
Or a McDonald's.
Ah.
Hell, our Burger King shut down last month.
Huh.
Yeah.
At
I
any
had
rate,
salad for dinner. Fucking salad.
as you are finishing dinner, Aaron, your phone rings.
All right. I will answer.
All right. There is a man with an accented voice who says, This is how you say errant of the Star City Sentinels.
Yes.
Excellent.
Almost-
This is Her Majesty's scheduling secretary. Would you be free? Would you and the rest of your group be free tomorrow at say approximately by surface time? Let's see, 10:30 or 11 o'clock.
Certainly.
Excellent. Which would be preferable for you?
I guess just I'll ask for it to be at the top of the hour, I guess.
Very good. We'll mark you down for an 11 o'clock meeting with Her Majesty. We will send we'll be sending a vehicle to pick you up. The front desk will page your rooms when it is here, when your ride is here, and we look forward to seeing you on tomorrow.
We look forward to it as well.
Excellent. Have a very good rest of your evening.
Thank you. You as well. Okay. So, that's set. Yeah.
Was the
Pass
scheduling,
along the
I
word
take
to
it?
everyone else. Yeah.
Oh, good. I can sleep in.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Stop trying to steal my kelp.
Mark.
Stop. You've got plenty right there.
Kind of. Do they really boil everything?
Actually, most of the fish is actually not particularly heavily cooked.
Oh, okay.
I mean, some of it is, but
It's mostly sushi.
well, it's. Eric's right. This is traditional Atlantean food, so it's basically either exposed to hot water or is raw, or is cured in some way. But they don't really do. Well, actually, I imagine
It's like
there are-
eating in Britain. Everything is boiled.
No, we've got fire too.
Doesn't that usually require fire too?
No,
Like-
you just make things hot.
How do you make things hot without the traditional means of heating it?
We do have electric.
I don't think the medieval electric bill is what he was talking about.
But yes, the majority of the fish is served either cured in some way or raw.
Turns out we're all allergic to fish.
Nah.
And so a miserable time was had by all.
Oh, damn. Well, crap. Then they probably shouldn't serve you the shrimp then. Turns out all of you are
Delicious.
definitely allergic to shrimp. Who knew?
That doesn't keep me from eating it. It's delicious. I
Not
just
even
feel
close.
an epic shock.
Even
Meanwhile,
Tony's
back
allergic
in
to
this universe,
Yeah.
Fortunately, no. And most definitely, Tony is not allergic to fish.
I don't know how the hell that would have worked.
that would be very
He's
unpleasant,
allergic to
I imagine.
Atlantean fish.
No wonder he turned to a life of crime.
He needs his fish from Costco. It's the only brand he can have.
At any rate, so unless there's anything else you want to do in particular before the meeting,
Not particular.
Make sure my armor is all shiny and pretty for meeting a queen.
okay.
I imagine she's going to want to see us in our superhero personas, so seeing as it's how we were invited.
All right, so the morning comes. You receive your wake up calls, and then at approximately 10:30, you receive the call that your ride is here. You all board into the limo submarine, where you are met by.
I'm sorry.
What, the limo submarine?
Limo submarine. Limo submarine.
Yeah. You are met by Valeria, Duchess of Hyperion. She bids you all a good morning. And as you
Very
travel
nice
along,
to see you again.
what?
Very nice to see you again.
Indeed. We have with us, in case, perhaps unsurprisingly, the palace is underwater.
Excellent. I could try out the new enchantment.
So we, if you are in need of them, we have breathing apparatuses with which are designed to allow surface dwellers to speak in a way that's heard, that they can be heard. And we also have these. She pulls out little earbuds, which will allow you to hear what what people are saying underwater, if they are either speaking into the microphones that are in rebreathers, or if they just are speaking underwater. They're designed to pick up speech, underwater speech. So she hands those out, and if you need the rebreathers, she hands those out.
Right,
I think my
gladly
suit would be able to
accept both.
would be set to handle that kind of thing in the first place.
Well, we'll find out if my enchantment works or not. Oh, it's so
I've got one of
exciting.
the I've got one of the devices that we brought along with me, but I'm gonna accept them. So
Yeah, I'm going to accept them, but unless I hadn't foreseen this when building the suit, I'm basically just taking them out of politeness.
Well,
Yeah.
you're able to get the frequencies the microphones are on.
Yeah.
And
Okay, yeah.
you're able to be able to give me a tech roll so you can.
Okay. Pick roll. Yep.
Yeah, okay. You're able to work out the frequencies such that the mics for the earpieces pick up for underwater speech. So you're able to get the configuration of that and plug that into your own internal systems. Eric, I take
Yep.
you're going to use at least the mic and the earbud.
The earbuds, yeah.
Okay.
We'll find out how well the enchantment works. So exciting. Feels
Tony
interesting
is
to
looking.
do that device.
Tony looks at the rebreather that he's been handed. Mark grabs his satchel, pulls out some tools, and starts fiddling.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if you didn't do
Because
that,
basically
I'd
the Duchess
offer
hands it to him,
myself.
then looks at Tony's beak, looks at the rebreather. She basically puts a hand on her forehead.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Mr. Wark. We really don't have any. Then she watches as Tony's fiddling with it. She sort of goes,
Okay, then.
Mr. Work, when you're done with that, would you mind it if when you're done using it on this trip, would you mind if our scientists sort of look at what you've done with that, if assuming it works? Mark! Thank you?
Tony built a translation device into it. It'll be the only time we can understand what Tony is saying.
And eventually, Tony finishes finishes his work on it by the time you arrive at the palace. Tony slips on the
Alright.
rebreather over his beak.
Hello there, chaps.
Because if there was somewhere for him to surface and get breath, he'd be completely fine otherwise.
yeah.
But it's like, so yeah, he basically ditches. He sort of looks around and shrugs and disrobes because he realizes that he's going to be operating underwater, and wearing his coveralls and such won't work too well. They don't impede his ability to swim.
Guess I'm gonna find out if the modifications I made to my armor are gonna work.
All right, and you all basically debark and are sort of have to. You're basically you enter the water and it's cold for those who are exposed to it, but not unpleasantly cold. Not painfully cold, I should say.
Right.
It takes some getting used to.
It's brisk.
Yep.
Just to answer the question that'll no doubt arise, Sophia's head is basically being protected by a force field that activates underwater.
Fair enough.
She has a Buzz Lightyear helmet.
No.
That sounds like a very adamant denial.
All right, so you guys are all moving underwater. As far as you can tell, your modifications to your equipment are working, Nick?
Well, it's not a combat situation, so...
Right. That's sort of part of it. I will say this, for most of you, moving about is definitively challenging.
Not for me, unless my magic failed.
No, it's working.
Excellent.
Despite that, Eric, it's still different.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's not actually impeding you, but it's still like, you know, your balance is a little bit. Your balance is a little bit different. It's disconcerting more than anything.
Gotcha.
Errant and John are having the most trouble with it. Sophia has systems that actually work underwater, so she's fine.
I have my aquatic propulsion adapter.
Tony is flitting about like a penguin underwater because he can do that.
Yep.
Tony's actively doing better.
Tony is moving better than he. I mean, it's like penguins waddle on land. He's literally flying through the water because that's literally what penguins do. You will hear a few excited, sort of, and very happy works from him as he swims around. Actually, the thing you notice is that while the Atlanteans swim fast, Tony is pretty freaking fast underwater.
Secret weapon, Tony Walk.
Well, the advantage is that he's very well streamlined. I mean, the Atlanteans are too, but not to the same.
Not to the degree that Tony is.
Yeah, and he's definitely.
Tony's a bird pedo.
Basically, yes.
Well, I'm going to bite back my complaints and start doing
I'm going to offer John and Aaron a rope so that I can just basically propel myself and drag them along as opposed to making them
start swimming.
energy swimming.
I start swimming.
Oh, fine, sure. Disregard my charity.
All right,
Not
so-
gonna be my
talking
fault.
to-
You get really tired
Aaron-
before we get in a fight.
Aaron will never accept help in any physical task, and John doesn't trust anyone with his own life.
It's not even life; it's convenience. Okay,
You're new to
John,
the team.
do this rope. This rope is yellow. You know what else is yellow? Cabs.
You're new to the team. You'll get used to it.
Things are working even better than I thought.
Raxies, don't give him
Top
ideas.
penguin.
Top penguin. The only reason they haven't done Sharpedo is because it's copyrighted.
Stroke.
Yes. So you move along, and eventually you arrive at the entrance to the throne room. Well, not the throne room per se. So where you're meeting the queen, really. You're not being taken to the formal throne room because that's overkill.
Because we're filthy surfacers.
No, it's more that this is sort of a. It's a reception. It's not like, you know, a gigantic, you know, royal frou-frou. It's a diplomat. It's almost more like a small diplomatic meeting.
Right.
So at any rate, you're shown into a room, and you're basically given places to rest. And the queen will be in shortly. A little while later, you notice that a couple of guards move into the room, looking around. One of them nods. They sort of, they basically sort of say something to one of their communicators. And you get the impression that the door then opens again, and an older female Atlantean swims in. She is wearing fairly simple clothing that looks extremely, extremely well made. It's not like, you get the impression this stuff's expensive, but not like super flashy.
Right.
But she is obviously wearing very expensive jewelry and has a small. Specifically, obviously she doesn't wear a crown because that wouldn't be very practical underwater. But there's a very specific. You recognize the necklace that she's wearing, which has the royal crest on it. You notice that as she swims in, the Duchess basically comes to attention.
I will give her a low sweeping bow.
I will curtsy to the greatest effect I can, all things considered.
I'll end up tipping forward as I do the same.
Aaron does a flip.
Tony seems to be sort of almost hovering sort of near a chair. He sort of does a penguin-y bow underwater, which is very confusing looking.
Yeah, what part of that description isn't confusing?
I don't know, and I said it.
Penguin-y?
I said it and it didn't make any sense to me, so...
Penguin-y bow underwater.
I'm not sure how that works. However, the queen sort of... Basically, her major domo announces her, it's Queen Andromeda the First of Atlantis. She says, please... Be seated. Relax. Sit down, please. She finds she sits down. She basically sits herself down in a chair.
I will sit to the greatest capacity I can.
Which is
Actually,
surprisingly not that
difficult.
bad, given that you're underwater.
Yeah, it's not too difficult actually to settle down underwater.
True. Although I don't know if the seat is large enough to make it not look awkward when I sit in it.
Given the type of seats they are, most of the seats in here are very large, and
Okay.
they're not really chairs per se. They're more sort of they're closer to stools.
Okay.
Excellent.
That works.
Leaning really far forward to not jab Tesla coils in the back of their upholstery.
Well, there isn't really upholstery per se. I mean,
Right.
all right. So the queen sort of looks out and says, well, thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it. First off, I would
The
like to...
pleasure is all ours.
What?
The pleasure is all ours.
Well, yes. I do wish to give you the
Muscle.
thanks of both me and of my kingdom for your services in dealing with my cousins. I'm aware that it was to your advantage to deal with them, but you did me a great service in making sure, in exposing their connection with their organization, and knowing that, having proof that they were connected with them, even if they hadn't been brought back as they were, was a big help in uncovering significant chunks of their organization, or at least a cell or two, shall we say.
We're happy to be of service.
But yes, I figured, what you should know about my cousins and about the organization they are part of is that, well, they are not happy with the policies I've been taking of late to further open up relations with the surface. I feel that it is, while in many ways our isolation has been helpful, there are many things that both we and the people of the surface can learn from each other. And lives on both sides could be improved by more open relations.
Absolutely.
There are many traditionalists who feel that this is a mistake. Now, most of them stand behind my decisions because I am the queen, and it's hard to get much more traditional than royalty. Even if their policies disagree with some of what you believe, it is the queen's mandate to make policy in this sort of way. Sort of a familial right. However, there are many who feel that I clearly have lost have lost leave of my senses, and that I've been on the throne for far too long, and that it is about time that someone else was to be sitting here. Now, they do not currently have enough popular support to make it politically make things such that from a political standpoint it would be best for me to abdicate. But, and I do not think they are foolish enough to, well, stage a coup. The only reason I was able to succeed in deposing my father was that, on top of the insane war he prosecuted with your peoples, many of his other policies were equally, at least as daft. And he had some very strange. He had interesting relations with some very unpleasant people, shall we say. Some of them were surfacers.
Interesting.
Yes. Well, I can understand why he still had contact with some of them. Given some of the relations with some of them over the years that they had with our people. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But yes, I am finding myself in need of outside assistance.
How can we be of service?
Well, as I've mentioned, my cousins have an organization that are making things difficult for me. And potentially are trying. One of their sort of ongoing goals is to prove that, to find ways to prove that opening relations with the surface is a bad idea, and that I'm clearly insane for pursuing such a policy. And obviously the operation they attempted in Star City was one such attempt to do so. Strain relations between us, make it look like your people could not be trusted, shall we say. However, I have a feeling that there's going to be continued I cannot think of the word. Pardon me. While my English is good, there are words I am not. It is not perfect, unfortunately.
It is understandable.
Continued capers.
Capers, I guess. But continued operations to find ways to destabilize relations between Atlantis and the surface.
Propaganda.
Propaganda would be some of it. I would, given their history, given their history of looking for more direct solutions, more violent solutions, I guess. I would not be surprised if they were agitating for some more direct action. So what I'm looking for is if you can keep an eye out for that sort of thing, back at your home, that would be, of course, appreciated. And if you find anything that would indicate that any of my people are interfering in anything in a criminal manner, or that would be detrimental to, that could cause unfortunate spikes in distrust between our peoples, that would be of much help if you could stop them and let us know. There is one other reason but you're probably wondering why I asked you to come down here for just these, beyond just the direct thanks of a grateful monarch. Sorry?
I had been curious.
Yes, I'm somewhat embarrassed to admit this, but it is a my intelligence officers suggested some of this, and I concur that this is a potentially very good plan. I did not want to make it openly with your NSEA or with you over that so that it did not leak. But I think it is very likely that since you came down here are being directly recognized by the Crown, that some members of said organization might take this as an affront, or even possibly an opportunity to worsen relations while you are here. Either by directly attacking you, or by framing you for something in some way.
So you hope to bait them out of their holes.
Yes, I believe the term is a something like cat's paw, I think. But yes, I'm hoping that my intelligence minister and I are hoping that if you are willing to stay here and act as such, we might be able to do some good that way. But this is entirely contingent on your willingness to do so. If you do not wish to do this, I understand completely. It is potentially very dangerous, and if things go particularly wrong, it could have some unfortunate consequences. But I do believe it offers an opportunity for to further weaken the organization my cousins were a member of. And who knows, you might be able to find some clues that would track down one of their cells, or even larger cells, or anything like that.
That would be helpful.
But of course, this is all in, what is the phrase? In your court. Yes, that's the phrase.
Well, we thank you for your consideration, Your Majesty.
I imagine we will have to speak among ourselves before we come to a decision.
Oh, believe me, that is completely understandable. I do have another meeting I do have to go to soon. But you are welcome to, if you think you can discuss it and work it out in a couple of hours, you're welcome to make use of one of the rooms here in the palace to discuss it. Or if you would prefer to go back to your hotel or something like that, that can be easily arranged as well. Also, if there are any questions you wish to ask me before I have to go, I'm more than willing to answer them now.
Do you have any plans in place to make use of us? Should we say yes?
Well, we have, again, we are not, we are hoping, mostly the plans we have in place are to make sure we have some of our intelligence operatives keeping an eye on you, keeping an eye looking out for people making moves against you. And if we have them looking at you, it makes it harder for, it means that if my cousins use some sort of illusion or disguises or anything like that, or mercenaries disguised to pretending to be you, we know where you are, and therefore we'll have proof that well, actually our intelligence operatives know that they are over here at this museum when your doppelgangers are attacking the palace.
Someone pretending to be me.
Technically possible. From what I understand, they did hire a doppelganger before.
Yes. He was a doppelganger.
Yeah. And we have we have contingency plans in place, but we have no firm, as I said, it was more to take advantage of your presence in case, the dissidents decide to do something overt while you are here. We figured that if we gave them the said opportunity and we were paying attention appropriately, we could possibly put a significant dent into their operations. And hopefully discredited them in the eyes of the people, even further than they already are.
The plan makes sense to me.
Certainly.
And of course, nothing may come of it, and
Of course.
that in many ways would be ideal. I mean, nothing bad happens.
Let's see here. I knew I had a question, but I can't think of it.
I can't think of any questions at the moment, so
All right, very good. I will. I think we do have a dry room if you would prefer that. I think. Yes, there is. I think that it is currently free and dry. We have a couple of rooms that can be emptied of water. You can pump air in and such. And I believe there is
That's-
one that is currently set up as a dry room right now.
That would be most appreciated.
thank you for
I
your
think.
consideration.
If you wish to make use of that, or if you prefer to go back to your hotel and discuss things, that is, again, as I said, perfectly acceptable. But if you think the discussion will be short, it might be easier if you stayed here and you could give your direct answer immediately. But again, that is up to you.
I think remaining on site would likely be the best option.
Okay. Well, as I said, I have a meeting I must get to.
We
Certainly,
most certainly.
we'll give you our answer presently.
Excellent. She sort of gestures to one of the people in the room, and she says to him, "Show them to the green room. I believe that's the one that is." Yeah, he nods. That is the right one, Your Majesty. Excellent. I must go to my meeting. Thank you again. Thank you. I do appreciate this. You're
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you for your time, Your Majesty.
Indeed. Have a good rest of your day, and I do hope. When you have an answer, if I'm still in the meeting, just give your answer to the Duchess. She will report. She will let me know.
Very well.
She gets up. Duchess stands up and such, and Queen nods to you and walks out of the room, back to the door she came through. The guard she asked to show you sort of shows you up to a room with an airlock. They cycle the the water out and pump air into the airlock. You are blown with basically air dryers to dry you off a bit. And the room you walk into is it's very similar to the room you were just in, except that it is dry. Chairs are very similar, the table is very similar, etc. The Duchess eventually comes in and says, she sort of pokes her head in and says, I will be just down the hall. If you have, you can. She gestures. She points on the table. There's a communicator there. She points at a sort of a device in there with a button. Just push the button and hit hit room dial 103. That'll be the room I will be in. If you need to talk to me about anything, if you anything like that. And I'll be sure to buzz you if the queen, if the queen is going to be available or anything like that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yep. That she pokes back out and closes the airlock door behind her, and you hear the airlock sort of cycling the other direction, filling with water.
So I don't see any reason why we couldn't stay for a few days. Let's see if we can't help them out with this potential threat.
Considering we may need some assistance dealing with the aliens above us, I think supporting the Atlanteans in establishing positive surface connections would be a wise decision.
Personally, to me, it sounds like she wants a few dry-siders to just come in, be the target for her little terrorist group, and just happen to be ones that can handle themselves in a fight.
And we can take in the sites while we're doing it. If nothing happens, nothing happens. Something does happen. Well, I think we've established that we can take care of ourselves, which is probably exactly why she wants us in.
Okay, call me paranoid, but here's a scenario.
John, you're paranoid.
The Queen wants stronger ties with the top side, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This group of traditionalists attack and, say, for example, do manage to hurt, injure, or possibly kill a visiting superhero from the surface. NSCA investigate, and with a little bit of political wrangling, the Queen now has, I wouldn't say access to an army, but the assistance of the surface's superheroes as her own personal little force.
I don't think that the NSCA would grant that much lease.
It's more that's a lot less paranoid than I was expecting from you. You're slipping.
I'm going less over the top paranoid and more realistic. Look, put it this way: if something happened, whether it's if something happened to our team, okay, she could literally put out to the NSCA and say, look, there's a major threat here. We can't handle it. They've killed a team of your heroes. We need some bigger muscle. She could quite easily cement her position on the throne by taking out any and all rivals. We know how the Atlanteans work.
Well,
The Atlanteans are a bit new to me.
This rogue element eliminated. I mean, trade is good for all parties involved. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't help them out here. I'm totally not going to give my conspiracy theory, but because the Doctor wouldn't have come up with it. But yeah. Aaron, do you have anything? One way or the other?
If we become the targets for something, then I'm completely willing to respond in kind and to pursue it all the way to whomever would be responsible. In the meantime, I do think that we do have unfinished business here. And while I understand the need to be suspicious of exactly why we were brought here, I also think that we at least owe Her Majesty a little bit of good faith.
I don't know. We've done a.
No,
we
you
did
don't
a,
know.
we,
Well, you're
did a-
paranoid of everything.
we did a one favor that suited us, like she says. I'm sorry. The invitation of, hi, can you come visit our wonderful city and be the target of a rebellion, please? Thanks.
Well, it is a nice city.
I understand your position, John, and I certainly see the merits in it, but I just cannot bring myself to say no in this case.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't go through with it. I want to meet the bastard that thinks he's going to look like me.
I must be honest, I'm looking forward to that as well.
I'm going to give that guy a nervous breakdown.
So we're in agreement then. We'll help them out.
All I'm saying is keep your guard up.
In the meantime, we could actually learn more about their culture and technology.
True.
Yes, I'd love to experience more of their, see what kind of magical innovations and whatnot they have here.
Indeed. Atlantean technology is something we don't know much about, and I think we could benefit greatly from it. Those electromagnetic domes, for example, those could be useful.
Those are
particularly-
fascinating. Yes, I agree.
Indeed, particularly in terms of space travel and colonization. And if we're going to need to go into space to deal with these aliens, I think having that technology, or at least something similar to it, would be quite useful indeed.
Agreed.
All right. So, what are you doing now then?
Right, what's communications like between here and the surface?
There is definitely some sort of way they communicate.
Does it have to go through Atlantean technology?
As far as you know, yes. Well, basically, there is what you know is there's definitely some sort of lines that they have to send to that communication, literally lines, cables. That basically they can send messages out and receive messages on. Radio
John's
does
gonna
not
make-
work too well. It does not work underwater, as I mentioned.
At
so.
some point, John's going to make his way back to the van and record a message on the van systems, basically outlining what I've just gone through as a failsafe sort of thing. Because if the NSA do investigate and go to the van and check that sort of stuff, he's going to basically leave enough clues that somebody with Smith's sort of intelligence would probably be able to pick it up and find it.
Okay.
Because just as a failsafe in case there is a plot.
All right. So when you get a chance, you'll head back to the van to do that. Got it.
Yeah. Whenever we're off, wandering.
Okie dokie. So, I take it you're going to let somebody know that you decided this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll inform
will-
the
I will dial room 103.
the attaché, the Duchess. That's her.
The Duchess.
That was
Yeah.
her title.
Not really an attaché.
Yeah, kind of bigger than that.
All right. So the Duchess answers and says, "Can I? Yes. What is it?"
We have come to conclusion.
We are quite happy to help you out.
Oh, excellent. I'll let Her Majesty know when she's available. She's obviously still in a meeting. But yes, I will let her know as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Of course.
And at that point, something happens. You feel
Attacked by ninjas.
no, you're not attacked by ninjas.
Fish ninjas.
No, but the floor starts.
Oh
you
my god, I'm
basically-
gonna pitch this TV series.
You hear a loud booming noise, and the floor basically shakes and rumbles. And
Am I still on the communicator?
yeah,
Madam, would you?
I
have
don't
any
know what
idea
that was.
Okay. We are
Sounded like
going
it came
to
from outside
investi-
the booming noise sounded like it came from outside the palace, though.
I think we'll join in the investigation.
Yeah.
You just blew up the van, didn't you?
No, it wasn't an explosion sound. It was.
Oh boy,
It sounded like a very big, heavy impact.
Oh,
something is ramming the palace.
or something landed outside the palace.
All right, so you guys are sort of heading somewhere.
Yeah,
To,
we'll
to the airlock.
Okay, you head to the airlock. You cycle through. You head out into the passageway. You again, the booming noise is even louder now that you're in the water.
Funny that.
Yeah. And as you get to a window, so you can look out, you see, you notice that the palace is, it's isolated in its own dome, its own separate dome, though it is underwater. It does have one of those domes over it. And you were wondering why it had a dome over it, given that the entire place in here is submerged. I forgot to mention that earlier. My bad. But you are now sort of understanding why. Because you see slamming into the dome a truly immense... well, you notice a couple... the first thing you notice is what looks like, honestly, a gigantic... basically, you're sort of looking up and you're sort of trying to figure out what it is. It's very dark outside. And then you see this huge, long thing slam onto the dome. And you can see several huge round circles surrounded by that are these round white circles surrounded by more sort of white, almost like flesh on the outside. That, as you think about it, sort of looks a lot like, an octopus's tentacle, except very, 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 very fucking huge.
Hello, beastie.
I think we found our colossal squid tour.
And additionally, you see another, you see a big, large, very strange-looking beastie on the other side. It's sort of like a weird mix of, like a lobster and a lizard. Weirdly, it's this weird, bizarre sort of almost sort of kaiju-esque lobster thing slamming in, sort of smashing its claws into the dome. Also,
Deploy the Jaegers!
Quick, call the robots in from the Pacific.
and it's very clear they are slowly trying to force their way through the dome. And you notice
Alright,
that the
let's see how my flight unit works underwater.
Yep. And you notice that they're basically doing that, and you notice that the guards are slowly mobilizing and such. So, what is your plan? We're obviously not going to do the... if you guys want to get involved in the fight, we're not going to do it tonight. Because it's getting a bit late for that. But I need to know what your plans are so I can prep for things for next time.
You're giving us a kaiju fight and you're asking us not to fight it? Yes, we're fighting it.
I'm not asking you not to fight. I'm asking if you want to fight it.
Yes, I am totally fighting it.
Yeah, we're fighting it.
Yeah.
I think the
Tony-
better question is how are we going to get outside of the dome and up there quickly?
Well,
I think
Aaron
that's
and
the
John
big
both need a Megazord.
Well, okay. The sort of the closing panel is basically, the lobster thing's like one of its claws slowly piercing the dome, as you can notice. Like it looks like the energy is sort of crackling under the giant octopus tentacle on top of it. Also,
So we're about to get wet either way.
well, it's wet out there anyways.
Oh, of course it is. It's not an air dome. It's just a safety dome.
No, there's a dome over it to protect the palace from
Yeah.
from being
From
attacked.
Kaiju.
It's designed to keep like armies out,
Yeah.
not kaiju. So okay, so next session will be the Kraken attack.
Yay.
I am excited.
You know how I said about them having heroes that can handle a fight?
You weren't quite thinking of this, were you?
Probably not.
So we will be back in, I think, 2 weeks with the next session, which will be starting off with the giant kaiju fight.
Woohoo!
Hope everybody had a good time. We'll be back, and I said in about 2 weeks. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope all the players had a good time. And we'll see you later. Take care, guys, and have a good night.
Bye.
No.
Night, kids.